So I did already go ahead and kind of make my outline. I made it a little bit darker today just to kind of make sure it could show up on screen a little bit better, but I'll typically go ahead and kind of make a little bit of an outline for what I'm doing here. But I'll start out with just like kind of one of the makeup brushes dipped in some charcoal powder. And right here I'm just kind of making a little bit of a background for the eyebrow. Quick note is that the guy that I've been following to learn this stuff myself usually recommends making sure that you have your base colors laid out first, that this all kind of starts with a good base or something to that effect. So if you're looking at your picture, even if you have to kind of get a screenshot of it and make it into black and white to figure out what needs to be darker or what's lighter, that's often a pretty good starting spot. So like underneath the eye, typically it'll be a little bit darker where people have those little dark circles and whatnot going on. So you make sure that those guys are darker. Okay. So from there I'm going to take my charcoal pencil and I'm going to kind of go around all these guys that are typically going to be darker. So like the eyelid. And if you want to, you can make your eyelid a little bit closer to the iris. That's entirely up to you. I'm going to go around the iris. We're going to have some random little spots where we'll bring that in some. So now around the pupil, I'm going to erase just a little bit up here. This kind of depends on exactly where you want to put stuff, but so this is kind of just to doodle out your your little shadow bit that's gonna, or your reflective bit that's gonna go into the eye some. And you can do this a bunch of different shapes. So along with just that little reflective bit, I'm also gonna just kind of make this little squiggle shape. And this can be more pointy, less pointy, really, however you want it to be. Just kind of that weird little halo shape dealy that people tend to have right around their pupil.
So the other night, Tim, you were talking about the upgrading things. I hadn't really seen what you meant, but just now I realized it because I'm on the upgrade mission, and I'm like, oh, that's what we talked about. So yes, I saw what the blue arrow, all that stuff there. Right now, I'm about to send my army going, but I've got 2 standard cavalry units that we get built up with. There's a third one with reinforcements that have armor. And 2 good squads of archers, 2 squads of pikemen, and 2 big squads of heavy shielders.
Okay. So right now I have this going on. Okay. So then we're going to get back to our charcoal pencil. And I'm just going to kind of go inside of the pupil and color that guy in. Now if you want to, you can leave a couple of little streaks. Sometimes I leave it, sometimes I'll go back in with my electric eraser later since I'm going to have to use that anyway, and I'll kind of find a couple little spots. It just makes everything look a little bit more glossy. Just because, you know, everything about the eye is pretty shiny. And if you happen to go just a little bit into the reflective part, it's fine. It's not really going to do too much damage, and it can always be fixed. So don't worry too much about making it absolutely perfect. Okay. So from here, and you can either use, anyway, for this part, you can use either one of a blending stump or a brush. This round, I think I'm just going to use the brush. If I change my mind, I'll let you know. Okay. So you're just going to kind of go around and just kind of make sure that all the charcoal gets spread around pretty good. And then as you're doing that, you'll also go around this outer edge, and it is good to kind of make sure that you're not just blending inward, that you're also going outside of the line a bit too. That just kind of helps the iris blend into the white of the eye. Just kind of gives it a little bit more of a natural appearance. So now from there, you can go back in with your charcoal pencil again. Certain areas, like since your eyelid's usually going to cast a little bit of a shadow, I usually darken up the upper part. And then also we're just going to kind of go around and make a few more little spines. Some of them are going to be a little bit longer, some a little shorter. Just kind of all over the place with that. And then we'll go in from the pupil, and we're going to create some extra spines coming down this way. And if you need to, you can also use some sandpaper to go ahead and sharpen up your charcoal pencil a bit more. Okay, and then I like to go and just kind of add in a couple of like just random extra dark splotches here and there. Just and again, a lot of these are kind of optional, mostly just when you consider that everybody's eye is going to be a little bit different, so the exact pattern doesn't exactly matter. These are just little things that I think kind of make it look pretty neat. And then I'm going to go back in and just kind of darken my little halo, I guess is what we'll call it. And then we kind of just go back to our brush, and we're going to keep on rendering stuff together. Okay. And yes, I did just kind of cover up the little swoop deal. And I'll show you why in just a second. So I'm going to take my fluffier brush, I'm going to dip it back into the charcoal powder, and I'm going to kind of darken everything just a bit more. So you do kind of want everything to be decently dark. Oh, it sounds a little bit weird initially, but it serves a purpose. Okay, so from there, I am gonna take my Perfection Series eraser, and where I had those little swoops, I'm gonna kind of just make them again. So I'm just redoing them, just making them a little bit more faint, just kind of add to the illusion of the reflectiveness. And then I'm going to go back through one more time with my charcoal. I'm going to sharpen it just a little bit on a small piece of sandpaper. You can also just get a sandpaper paddle at an art supply store like Hobby Lobby or whatever. You can usually find them kind of paired up with some blending tools. So these ones I'm kind of just doing at random, just to give a couple little extra dark bits. And yes, I realize this is probably seeming kind of tedious, but it is what it is. If you look really, really close, a lot of people, your eyes are incredibly detailed inside. Kind of a beautiful thing, really, but whatever. Anyway. Trying to get a good sharp edge on this thing. Alright, so from there, I'm going to take my Mono Zero eraser. It's my guy with that I use for a lot of really, really small details. And you're just going to kind of go in between these little lines and just kind of all over the place, really. And you're just going to kind of carve out some brighter spots. And sometimes a little ways around it, I like to make little, I guess, triangle type shapes. So I'll have some that are going up and then kind of out, but not perfectly straight. And again, just going to kind of make very random lines. Some of them will go clear from the iris clear up to the pupil. Some of them are going to be a little bit more mirrored than others. But just remember that for the most part, your eyes, where even you have even if you have pretty prominent highlights, they're not usually going to be in a perfectly straight line. So we're just going to kind of come over and just do a whole bunch of these, and you can do more lines if you want to, or fewer, to give the impression of lighter colored or darker colored eyes. So if you want them to be, like if you're doing you're a blue-eyed person, you might do more of the highlights and fewer of the darker areas. You're going to kind of just do this all the way around. I do like to curve just a few of these. Not all of them, but to me personally, it kind of makes it look like the pupil is sitting a little bit deeper in. There's that first, and then I like to take my electric eraser with a smaller tip, and you can also kind of sharpen that by just turning it on and running it over some sandpaper if you need to. But this is just so I could add just a couple of even brighter spots. And then from there, that's also optional, but you can also kind of go on the outside of the little halo bit that we made earlier. And just pick a couple of little spots to kind of outline it in with the little highlighter. I do like to do this, but I don't always like to go all the way around. Don't know why. Again, a lot of this gets to be kind of preference. Have fun with it. And then just kind of inside the pupil if you want to. This is again optional, but you can make a couple of little stripey bits. Just kind of gives a little bit more of that impression of it shining. And I just take my charcoal. I didn't add any more charcoal powder to it. I'm just using what's still on the page to kind of help blend it just a little bit more, just so that things aren't so they're not standing out so much that they look unrealistic. And a neat thing is that you can also, if you want to, you can add like some little shadows of like eyelashes or something if you want to in here. That can be a little bit tricky. I've seen this done a couple of different ways. So you can do it that way, or if you do just want to leave it blank just to give it a really good shine, you can do that too. Okay. So there is